All right, in today's video, we're gonna update the safety in our shop by adding a first aid kit. And not just by adding one, by making one. Why not make one if you can, right? So we built this awesome box, super bright and colorful for the shop, easy to reach from where we typically work at. Now, no, I don't have to have this. I can easily run to the restroom where all the supplies are, but having it right here and accessible to me in case anything does happen makes me feel really, really good. So today, let's get safe. All right, before we build our box or our cabinet, we need to figure out what we're gonna put in our first aid kit. So every first aid kit is somewhat different, but pretty similar. So the things I'm gonna put in the first aid kit for me, I've got some hydrogen peroxide, I've got some alcohol, I've got two different things of gauze. I've got a flat gauze or rolled gauze. I've got a box of Band-Aids. We've got some Neosporin, and then I've got a couple different wraps. We've got some cling wrap, some easy tear tape wrap, and then some athletic tape. In this instance, we're gonna use CT tape. Now the one thing that I am missing from this box are a couple different things. One, scissors to cut the tape, but I've got all my scissors over there at that workbench, so they're pretty close. The other one is a tourniquet. So they didn't have it when I picked this stuff up, but I do have one on order. Now a tourniquet is one of those things that you're glad you have, but hope you never need. In case there is some sort of serious injury and I need to stop the bleeding, I would like to have a tourniquet. So that's on order. Hopefully it'll be here before I finish the project. If not, I'll have it in by the end of the week. So I've got what I need. Now I can start getting my dimensions ready to build the box. We are gonna use 3/4 ply for the outside of the box. I want it nice and sturdy because I'm actually gonna mount it onto the French cleat. I want the box to be on the French cleat wall where I can just go to it, open it up. So I would like to have the bottom kind of fold down. I may put some chains or a couple different things to it and hold it there so it's kind of like a little table for me so I can open my Band-Aid or my gauze or whatever it is. So would be ideal to have it kind of right here. And then really I think it's gonna be cool to be in the majority of videos as a reminder of safety, right? So all my videos, sometimes it may be overkill. I'm big on PPE, most specifically eye protection. So I've always got my eye protection on when I'm doing things, and then quite often I'll have my full face mask when I'm doing sanding or something that's gonna produce a lot of debris. Really that's to protect my eyes and then keep anything out of my airways, right? I don't really like the paper mask. And I've got a couple different sanding masks, but I'd rather wear the mask. I don't get anything in my nose, mouth, or my eyes. Do it all at once. So I enjoy wearing the mask, even though it probably looks a little silly. Hey, for me, it works. So I think we've got a good size here. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I've got a leftover sheet of 3/4 ply from another project. So it's gonna be free. The project for me, it's gonna be a scrap wood project, but I think we're gonna use a couple different things that I also have laying around. I've got some hinges that are way too big, but they're gonna work. I've got a handle pull, which is just gonna pull the face down. I've got some magnets, so it'll kind of stick to itself when we put it up. The only thing I think I need to purchase, if I can't find somewhere laying around the shop, is some string or some chain to hold it open. So we're gonna go ahead and head to the table saw. Let's get cutting. Let's stay safe. All right, so we got our basic dimensions cut. We've got a 13 by 10 by 3 inches deep, or basically 4.5 once you count the front and the sides. So that should be fine to not stick out too much. I've got several of these that stick out farther than that. So before we can actually start assembling, I do have quite a bit of some fraying on these edges, so I need to break these edges. Okay, now that we've got our cabinet cavity made, so basically I've got our backer kind of sandwiched in between a couple clamps on the T-track. We've got our top and bottom and our sides. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to glue the frame down to it, or down to the back. And then while we have it gluing, I'm gonna go ahead and pin it all the way around. And then we'll flip it over and pin it from the back. And that should hold us just as much as we need. Now, I told you I had a little bit of tear out on the plywood, right? So maybe you guys can see that right there. So we're gonna have the good side facing out, right? So I'm just gonna kind of fold everything back so the good side is down, and that'll make our outside. Okay, then we'll flip it over and we'll go ahead and pin it from the top side. Okay, now that we've got our cabinet cavity completed, we've got it glued and brad in place. I think I'm gonna go ahead and screw it in. This would be strong enough, but I do want this to basically last the longevity of my shop unless I want to upgrade at some point. So we're gonna go and screw that in. We do have to make sure it's flush because it's gonna be sitting against a French cleat. Once we get that done, we do need to trim it. So we've got some areas like right here, if you can see it, a little overhang. So we'll take a flush trim bit to that, and then we'll sand it smooth, and then we can start working on our face plate. Now on the face plate, it's just another 3/4 piece of plywood, but we have a couple things we have to do. We've got to get the hinges installed where it will lay flat, or basically make a table, makeshift table. So we're gonna need something to support it. And then also we need something to identify it. So I think what we're gonna do, we'll take this to the CNC machine, maybe the Plus, the Hospital Plus. I think that's gonna look really cool. So let's go ahead and get this screwed into place. Now on to some more CNC ASMR. It's really hard to beat a CNC when it comes to doing inlays. And if you just stumbled across this video and you haven't done so, please give it a like or subscribe if you'd like to see more of this content. Now while you're being mesmerized, I need to go paint this cabinet. All right, now we've got it painted. We've got the front painted inside white, outside red. We still have to paint the surround and the cross. And then we've got the cabinet. We've got it painted red and then inside white. The only thing that I haven't painted is the actual surround on it, but I don't think I'm going to. If you guys have experienced painting and when you're trying to get a project together really fast, especially when you're using spray paint, even though I've got a day of drying on the white paint, I just painted the red this morning. So if I painted both of those, there's a high probability that they're gonna stick to each other. So I don't really want that. You're not gonna see it anyway until it's actually open and being used. So for the time being, I think we're good. Next that we're gonna work on, we're gonna go ahead and start getting the hinges on the bottom side. We'll get the hinges on, and then I'm debating on adding a kind of a pull handle. And then the other thing I've gotta do, I was able to find this high tension, tension or tensile? Either way. This high tension cable. So I used this in another project a long time ago, but basically I'm gonna cut this to size, and that's gonna hold the door open so that it'll become a usable shelf. Even though, yeah, I could just turn around and use the workbench, I figured that'd be kind of cool. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, let's get these hinges on. Now to attach the hinges, what I'm going to do, I'm gonna get everything lined up, and then I'm going to use some tape to kind of put them in place. And then that way I can drill my holes while it's still in the area that I would like it. And now what we can work on, we can start cutting our cable and finding out the length of our cable that's gonna hold our drawer open. So I believe this is just one long cable. All right, great. That's gonna make it easier. So I'm thinking something along, you gotta think when it folds in, right? It's got to also be able to go in, so you don't want too much of it. So maybe something like that. I think that's fine. All right, so we're gonna cut 2 lengths of the wire. Now when you're cutting wire like this, you definitely want to have on your eye protection. You don't want a strand of this wire going into your eyeballs. Ideally, if you can, you would cut it at an angle, like a 45-degree angle if possible. Okay, so we've got that cut. I'm gonna move this other wire out of our way. And then we can start attaching those basically to our little eyelets that we have. There we go. We've got 2 awesome high strength cables that are gonna hold this thing together. Now key here also, you've got to take in consideration you've got 3/4 that you need to go over, because if you have the cable in here, you're obviously not gonna close, right? Voila, there you go. So theoretically, if you need to kind of put your bandages right there as you're as you have them out and you're working on. Cool, okay, now closes, opens and holds. I would like to put some magnets on it. I'd like to put a magnet at the top, so when it closes it, it's gonna hold itself closed so it doesn't just open. So let's work on that. Okay, I have several of these magnets. So this is gonna work. I think we can probably get away with just 1 and 1. Let's try that. And then if we need to add more at the top, we will. So we'll move these magnets to the side. We'll set those right down the track. Now what you need to do when you have magnets, obviously the polarity is very important. So what I like to do, I'm gonna put a plus or an X on this side and a plus or an X on this side, so I know that these are the same. So the plus is always on the outside, so that when I put these together, you're gonna have an X showing and then a non-X showing, and that way they will collapse on each other or connect. Okay. Okay, it's pretty easy to find our center hole, because plywood, you've got that center layer, and since we have a butt joint, I know exactly where that's at. Now the key on the Forstner bits is you want to creep up on this hole, because you want the magnet as flush as possible, and it's really easy to go too far, too deep. Now, it's not impossible, you can always put something behind it, but ideally, I don't want to mess with that. Like just like that. I don't know how I got it perfect the first time, but I will take that. So we've got one in. We'll go ahead and get the other side. That is freaking amazing. I don't know how I did that 2 times in a row. It's like I really planned it. Okay, I'm gonna get some CA glue. We're gonna get quite a bit of CA glue in here. Okay. So we got the CA glue inside, because we know some of that wood is going to absorb it. Spray an activator on the magnet. Set that in place. All right, well, we'll give that a few minutes to dry, and then we'll come back and then we'll position the other magnet, and we'll keep on moving along. Okay, now we let it dry again. We'll clean up our mess, and then we'll figure out if we're going to do the handle or not a handle, and obviously to make sure that this is going to close and hold it. So we'll give it a few minutes, we'll come back. All right, now we've got it all completed, at least able to open and close. I did have to add a couple more magnets in the middle, so that works out great. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to painting the front, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull the tape off. I'm gonna paint this by hand. The reason I'm painting it by hand is I don't really want to mask off and do all that to spray paint it, and I think hand painting is kind of enjoyable, so that's what we're gonna get started on now. All right, now we've got it all painted. I went ahead and finished out the surround, clear coated all of it, the front, the sides, the top. Now I'm ready to go ahead and mount this on the wall. I cleared out quite a bit of room on my French cleat wall. We'll figure out where it's gonna go, but first to do that, I've got to put a cleat on it. So we're gonna go ahead and attach a French cleat. Off camera, I went ahead and cut this cleat here, 13 inches, which is the width of our box. We're gonna go ahead and pin it in place, and then I'll screw it together. All right, now that we've got it installed on the wall, we went ahead and stocked it. So we've got our peroxide, some alcohol, Band-Aids, some gauze, we've got some Neosporin, and then we've got several different kinds of tape. We've got some stick tape, some wrap tape, and some athletic tape, some CT tape. And then I've got a tourniquet that should be in tomorrow. So our first aid kit is done. And I'm pretty excited about the platform that it makes. So when I can use it to whenever I open up, you know, like this package of Band-Aids right now, I can open up, use it right here, bandage myself up as necessary, and we're good to go. Close it, locks in place. Hopefully it's pretty dust proof. We're gonna find out really soon. But I think every shop you should have several different things for safety. Obviously your normal PPE, you know, your eye protection, ear protection, mouth, or basically breathing. And then a first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, and this is well needed in my shop. I mean, no, it's not that far to run to the bathroom, but things can happen fast in a shop, especially with these power tools, and I feel very happy, proud, and safe that I have this in the shop. It's super bright. I think the color looks great. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully you guys stay safe. We'll catch you on the next one.